Dave Chappelle is back to ruffle the feathers of the establishment left, and they're not too happy with the latest special from the comedian called The Closer, which premiered on Netflix just recently, because apparently in it he makes jokes about trans people, and he makes some I don't even know if I can tell you the jokes he made. I mean, we'll get into it. I'm not gonna shy away from the things that Dave Chappelle said on Netflix. If YouTube doesn't want it, well, too bad. But you see, now the media's in an uproar. They're calling him a TERF. They're saying he's transphobic. Things they've already said to him, which he didn't care about, and then doubled down. Dave Chappelle apparently came out and said he was a TERF himself. He defended J.K. Rowling. He says, basically in his joke, he says trans women aren't real women. But strangely, he also says he's not trying to say that trans women aren't women. He just goes out and straight up says it, comparing trans women to soy-based cheeseburgers, which is, look, I got the joke. I think Dave Chappelle's a very, very funny guy. And if you listen to his comedy, you know he doesn't agree with the right. He's not conservative. He's had very choice words for Candace Owens, but he also just speaks his mind and he pushes buttons and he does comedy. Why, as an Asian person, I recall his last comedy special where he did a caricature of Asian people, and it was like a stereotypical 1930s Asian stereotype, and I thought it was hilarious. Oh, now I can already hear the progressives yelling, but you're not Asian enough, Tim. Shut up. Okay, if I can see a comedian and he wants to make fun of something that has to do with my culture or heritage, I'm a big boy. I'll say, okay, Dave, you can make fun of me. And that's the thing I see right now. You know, why is it that I'm more likely to have a conversation in agreement with someone like Ben Shapiro, who is an Orthodox Jew and conservative, when I'm actually fairly libertarian and somewhat left-leaning? Well, I'll give you a really good example. It's really easy. Look at when someone posts something disparaging about Ben Shapiro on Twitter. And what does Ben Shapiro do? He rolls with it. He gets it. People make fun of people. And that's why one of the reasons people like Ben Shapiro, because he's an adult. And isn't that the big difference between, or one of the big differences between the left, right, cult, not cult, whatever you want to call it? Yeah. I'll tell you, this is a really funny post where, it's like a picture I took of myself without a hat on, and people post it like it's some kind of gotcha. I'm like, yo, I'm the one who put that photo up. But that just goes to show you, there are people on the left, and they think that I guess they use their personal experience and personal feelings to try and go after other people, which doesn't work on someone like me or Ben Shapiro. And many others. I mean, obviously Crowder and people like, Sticks, Hex, and Hammer. I always give him a shout out. He's a great YouTube channel. I don't think any of these actual adults who are responsible for themselves are going to be swayed or discouraged by dumb insults. Someone says something dumb about me, I go, I love it. The best they can come up with is they say Tim Pool is a dim fool. And okay, I guess, whatever. Am I supposed to get mad about it? Ben Shapiro was on Bill Maher, and he was there with Malcolm Nance. And Malcolm Nance said something like, is this what you do on your show? Because it sucks. And I just heard that, and I was like, talk about lowbrow. Just lowbrow. Okay, fine, I guess. Ben Shapiro responded with something like, I'll take that to heart while I'm sleeping on piles of money. All right. That was a hard clap back. I'm not a big fan of that response. My response would have been like, Malcolm, are we having a serious show here? I mean, I'm not here to tell you what you do sucks. I'm here to talk about the facts and the points. If that's not something you're capable of doing because you want to make it emotional, by all means, we don't have to do this. I'm doing this as a courtesy. But of course, Ben Shapiro can snap back, clap back. Everyone's entitled to it. And the point is, yeah, I don't think Ben Shapiro cares all that much when people make fun of him because he sleeps on piles of money. Among other things, I think the dude is principled and he's standing up for his principles, even when you don't agree with him. And a lot of the populist libertarian types don't agree with the guy. Well, here's what's going on with Mr. Dave Chappelle. The Daily Beast. Oh, we love the Daily Beast. Dave Chappelle says he's a TERF and is quitting LGBTQ jokes in Netflix's The Closer. The comedy greats ninth stand-up special on 6th for Netflix is the most incendiary, troubling, and unapologetic one yet. You know what I see here? They're ragging on him, but also calling him a comedy great. You know why? These are the people that don't know anything other than mainstream political opinion, like what they get from TV. So what they know is that people like Dave Chappelle. What they also know is that people don't like transphobia. The reality is, the world they live in, Twitter, is not real. They have surrounded themselves with a fringe microscopic faction. Oh, you know what my favorite story of this cycle was? Did y'all hear about Aussie media? No, you didn't? Oh, I love this story. Oh, not the Aussie media one. I love how journalists are sitting in a room together thinking that the stupid BS they talk about matters to regular people. Did you hear Aussie media sale? Oh, I can't believe it. It was a house of cards. And then I'm sitting here like, so what? Do you think any regular American actually cares about that? No. What do they care about? I don't know. Why their paycheck is getting smaller, why they're fired from their job, why they're being told they have to go and get a medical procedure. And they watch Netflix and they like Dave Chappelle. But the critics don't, because the critics live in bubble world. Yeah, that's it. Let me throw it to some old Dave Chappelle Rotten Tomatoes Sticks and Stones 2019. Tomato meter 35%. Boy, did the critics hate it. Audience score with 25,000 plus ratings 99. Isn't it that obvious? You know what, man? The mainstream media, these personalities, I forgot what the word is called. Someone was tweeting about it earlier. It's a paradox where they go along with things they don't actually agree with because they assume everyone else agrees with it. But the reality is no one agrees with it. So it creates this weird Mexican standoff of cancel culture where it's like one day someone could come out and say something like, I like putting a teaspoon of salt in my iced tea. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, I do the same thing. I put salt in my iced tea too. And then people are like, you know, independent thinkers go, you put salt in your iced tea? Psh, you don't? You must be a loser. Because they think they think most people actually do this stupid and ridiculous thing. All right, let's read the story. The Daily Beast says, in the early hours of Tuesday morning, Dave Chappelle dropped The Closer, his 9th stand-up special overall. The hour-long set was recorded at the Fillmore in Detroit in August of this year. Everyone have a seat, be comfortable, relax. I got to tell you, let's go. Chappelle, sporting a perfectly manicured suit and white sneakers, tells the raucous crowd at the start. Look how well-dressed this man is. Because I say that because in the last special, he's wearing like a T-shirt. You know what I mean? The 48-year-old comedy legend then adds, I need you guys to know something. And I'm going to tell you the truth. And don't get freaked out. This is going to be my last special for a minute. Once the applause dies down, Chappelle dives in, tackling COVID and his own battle with the deadly virus. He goes on to say that he got COVID and he makes fun of Johnson & Johnson. And he says he took the third best option. He says, I don't know if you heard the news, I did get COVID. He said it didn't make him feel that bad at all. He further admits that he didn't get sick from COVID. Over the course of Closer, which directed by Emmy winner Stan Lathan, who's shot all of Chappelle's Netflix specials, the comic weighs in on a lot of issues: racism, discrimination, sexuality, gender identity, often finding himself pitting the struggle for black liberation against the LGBTQ and feminist movements, as he's done repeatedly in the past. And I actually kind of agree with Dave Chappelle. And I'll show you. I have this tweet from Billy Prempe you guys will want to see about the vaccine and the black community. Addressing the LGBT community directly, Chappelle says that he comes in peace while wishing to negotiate the release of DaBaby, the chart-topping rapper who made some homophobic comments during his set at Miami's Rolling Loud Festival back in July, before expressing how jealous he is of the progress that the LGBT community has made compared to black people, and recounting that at the time, a gay white man called the police on him in Austin after Chappelle confronted the man about filming him and his wife in a bar. He then clumsily segues into a troubling story about a supposed incident in which he says it beat up a butch lesbian woman for throwing a punch at him. He says he's glad TMZ didn't believe the story because he did beat the ish out of her. He says, I'm not going to lie. It was her fault. I had no choice. There's more. Chappelle, weighing in on the annoying as F ways Hollywood's white women have handled the Me Too movement, arguing the onus was somehow on Weinstein's A-list victims to hire underlings as agents in order to protect everyone from his abuse, and how the transgender community want him dead for his habit of performing transphobic jokes, offering up as evidence that a few times angry transgender people or allies have gotten in his face over said jokes. Any of you who have ever watched me know that I have never had a problem with transgender people. If you listen to what I'm saying, clearly my problem has always been with white people, he maintains. I'm not a fan of that. I get the joke, though. I don't think Dave Chappelle actually hates white people, but I think he has good points to make about racism, and I'm going to get to the vaccine stuff, Tuskegee experiments, etc., and we'll talk about it. Chappelle then tries to convince the audience and the crowd at home that he's never made any explicitly anti-trans jokes, requesting that the audience go back and revisit his specials. They say he most certainly has, and you can read the great trans writer Samantha Allen on it here. He defends J.K. Rowling against being canceled, and then before saying, "I'm Team TERF for trans exclusionary radical feminist." And this is where he drops those bombs that really pissed off the establishment. Gender is a fact, he reasons. Every human being in this room, every human being on Earth had to pass through the legs of a woman to be on Earth. That is a fact. Now, I'm not saying this to say trans women aren't women. I'm just saying that those hoo-hoos that they got, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not hoo-hoo, but it's beyond hoo-hoo or impossible hoo-hoo. I could say the word. It's not censored on YouTube, but, family friendly. At least I try to be to a certain degree. He's basically saying, like, Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger, how it's like, it kind of tastes like a cheeseburger, but it's not. That's what he's saying. He says, that's not quite what it is. That's not blood. That's beet juice. Chappelle's anti-trans jokes have often boiled down to human anatomy, which shows how unnuanced his views are on the subject. Unnuanced. Well, there is some nuance, but there's still a debate or a disagreement. I'm pretty sure Dave Chappelle has a nuanced view of these things, and he's making this point, which I get. The issue the left likes to bring up is that if there's someone who outwardly appears like a woman and you don't know their privates, then you don't know if it's a woman or how they identify or whatever. The point is, they view women as socially constructed, which is incorrect. It's not correct. If you go to Wikipedia, for instance, our scientific understanding and our linguistic understanding, our colloquial use of women is adult human female. Now, there are issues because you start getting these nitty gritty arguments about if a woman goes through menopause and can't have kids, is she still a woman? Well, yes, of course. And then they say, okay, then what if there is a trans woman has the, post operational anatomy, can't have kids. Is that a woman? And they say, okay, well, now you're nitpicking. The issue is you can always break something down to the point where you can argue it doesn't exist. Okay. You can say 2 + 2 = 5 by adding things to the equation. But the simple mathematical formula of 2 + 2 is simple. It's 4. They say, yes, but 2.4 rounded down is 2. And 2.4 + 2.4 is 4.8, which rounds up to 5. Oh, now we've disproven it. 2 + 2 equals, no. 2.4 + 2.4 equals 4.8. You can make arguments about the assumptions people make and all that stuff, and I respect that. You can get philosophical. But in this regard, I don't want to get too much into this. I get the point that Chappelle is trying to make. The left doesn't accept that. They say it's unnuanced when in reality, I just don't think they understand that we try to make determinations so we can make predictions. That's what science is partly about in a lot of ways. If I do X 100 times, what will the outcome be? And if it's like, if I threw a rock at a window, the window will break. That's a definitive statement, and it's not necessarily true. Because of that, you'll end up with postmodernist thinking saying, if you throw a rock at a window, saying it will break is incorrect. That's technically the truth. For most intents and purposes, throwing a rock at a window breaks the window. But we get it, right? Just because there is a real rational thought within something doesn't mean you can throw out what is deemed to be generally true. Anyway, I digress. They go on to say that he later tries to qualify his material by telling a story about Daphne Dorman, a white transgender woman who loved his jokes. They go on to say that he then brings up, until we are both sure that we are laughing together, I'm telling you it's done. I'm done talking about it. All I ask of your community with all humility, will you please stop punching down on my people? That's a really, really good point. And I'll bring you to this story from the New York Post. In Chappelle's closer, DaBaby canceled for offending gays, but not killing a man. This is the point that he's making. DaBaby in 2018 admitted to fatally shooting a 19-year-old man in a North Carolina Walmart, claiming he acted in self-defense. Prosecutors dropped the case. However, DaBaby's career came crashing down in July of this year when he made a series of homophobic remarks at a concert in Miami. Dave's right. Yo, Sticks and Stones, man, that's the name of his special. And you've literally got a story about a dude, maybe justified, I'm pro-gun, kills somebody. I mean, there should be questions about it. If you fire in defense in a Walmart, I want to know what's up. Prosecutors dropped the charges. Certainly seems like he may have been justified. But there was no uproar. There was no outrage. There was no fury. They don't care. They don't care. But he says words. And all of a sudden, it's end his career. That's what Dave Chappelle's talking about. And I agree. I can respect it. Now, I think we know where this is going. Dave Chappelle, Sticks and Stone gets panned. And then you can look over here and we can see that Dave Chappelle's The Closer already has, with over 100 ratings, 93%. There's one critical review I haven't looked at yet. Let's see what it says. One review. Surprise, surprise. Negative. Chappelle's rampant transphobia doesn't need to be a problem as long as the jokes land, but his obsession with grievances supersedes any pretense of crafting actual humor. Ian Thomas Malone, you're a racist. How about that? Because Dave Chappelle's point in his bits was that y'all can claim to support the black community, but then your actions speak louder than words. You cancel a guy and take his career from him because he said mean words. Yet killing a guy isn't enough. You don't care. Yeah, you don't care when they die. They don't care in Chicago when people are being shot and killed, and it's mostly in the black community. They don't care. They don't go there. Oh, but you better believe every news outlet's going to go up in an uproar when it's a bunch of white people or white kids or it's a white person doing it because they're white supremacists. No. Think about this. What stories do we hear about? Mass shooting. White people killed. All of a sudden, there's the story. Mass shooting. White person did it. There's the story because they're white-centric. And this is the left, not the right. Yeah, I get upset when I hear about mass shootings in Chicago. I don't care who the perpetrator is. They do. It's not part of their world. So when Dave Chappelle tries making those points, they don't care. He's just a bigot. How dare you? And it's what we see time and time again. Billy Prempe put out this video, From Slaves to Human Guinea Pigs. Why the dark history of black America justifies our vaccine hesitancy. You see, look, man, that's why I say it all the time. I believe there's absolutely racism in this country. And I think you all completely agree that the U.S. has a very serious problem with racism. And I'll tell you this, racism in this country has been getting worse and worse over the past several years and the past decade. And you know what? You all agree with me. Why? Because it's coming from the Democrats. It's coming from these woke progressives who talk down to black people, treat them like garbage, and demand they fall in line behind their whims. Candace Owen is a white supremacist. The black face of white supremacy, Larry Elder. They're racists, and it's been getting worse. And they turn to the Republicans, and they say, you're a racist. It's like, yo, they're the ones telling you not to be racist. The Republicans are the ones saying we don't want to use race to determine someone's place in this society. Incredible, isn't it? Maybe it's always been that way. For the most part, the Republican Party who freed the slaves. It was, I think, the first black senator was a Republican, and then at some point they just started claiming that the Republicans were all the racists. Yeah, I get it. There are Southern Republicans who fly the Confederate flag. And for whatever reason, there are black Southerners who fly the Confederate flag, too. There's a famous photo. It was really funny. It was a black man holding up, I think it was a Trump flag and like a Confederate flag, and then a white person holding up a Black Lives Matter flag. And people are like, yo, this is weird stuff. But I'll tell you this. People are entitled to their opinions. If a black man wants to fly a Confederate flag, he's allowed to. In this video from Billy Prempe, he points out only 28% of black Americans are vaccinated. And he goes on to say, that means 72% of the black community are being denied services in the name of vaccine mandates, notably in New York City. And then he goes on to say, you've got stories like the Tuskegee experiments. He tells, man, these are dark stories. Radiation, Agent Orange trials. They were testing Agent Orange on black prisoners. They were testing radiation on black people. And he says, this is why the black community does not trust the vaccine mandates. This is why we actually saw Black Lives Matter marching with Trump supporters, because they're all like, yo, freedom. And so I think that's a good thing. That's optimism right there, to see, people coming together. And I think more people on the right need to recognize the left is trying to steal the issue of racism. Why? Because it benefits them. In reality, there is very serious racism in this country. It's coming from the left. And we know this. I know you know this. I know the Republicans talk about it. They use racism as a cudgel to gain power. This is why there's a poll, and it shows that of all racial and political groups, white liberals are the only group with an out-group preference, meaning they dislike white people. They prefer non-white people. That's what the Democrats are going after. And these people are being driven insane. The things they believe do not translate into proper governance. Joe Biden's insane. His policies make no sense. They believe all of this stuff is mainstream. It's not. It's anything but. And they push racism. Now, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, because I got to tell you, Joe Biden's historically and classically been racist. And he's promoted very racist policies and he's been criticized for it. Yet for some reason, these leftists keep telling you that the Democrats are the ones who aren't racist. Donald Trump, meanwhile, had civil rights awards. Donald Trump, a perfect guy? Of course he isn't. I always got to say that because people are acting like just because I can say Trump did a couple good things, he did a lot of good things, that I'm saying everything he did was good. Don't play stupid games with me. Joe Biden's done some good things. I don't know, whatever. You want me to name some of the good things Joe Biden's done? Man, it's really hard to do. I got to be honest. So how about I just say, you know what? Maybe he hasn't. I can talk about the bad things Trump's done. Tomahawk missiles in Syria, commando raids. I can talk about the good things he's done, bolstered the economy, protected our borders. The tariffs, telling people, more specifically, when he went to the auto manufacturers and said, bring these jobs back or else. That was a good thing, protecting the workers. Then you look at what's going on with the Democrats. So Dave Chappelle, I might not agree with his politics, but I agree with the fact that he believes in freedom, that he's fighting the good fight. He's standing up for what he believes in. And he's telling these people, yo, get off my back. However, he is saying he's backing away from it. I get it. Jon Stewart tried making a comeback. Doesn't work. Dave Chappelle may be bowing out. Maybe he realized the writing on the wall. Man, they're coming after him. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? At any rate, go watch Dave Chappelle's special and have a good laugh because the audience seems to love it already. And I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.